Hello, how are you today? And are you ready to hear mysteries? If you're ready, I'll tell you.
Shadows of the Forgotten. Ethan and his girlfriend, Lily, were excited about their weekend getaway. They had planned a trip to visit Ethan's uncle in a town they had never been to before. The journey was meant to be a relaxing escape from their hectic lives, but it soon turned into a nightmarish experience that neither of them would ever forget. Ethan and Lily started their trip early on a bright Saturday morning. They planned to take their time, enjoy the scenic route, and make a few stops along the way. The drive was filled with laughter and music as they looked forward to their mini-adventure. Their first stop was at a picturesque diner where they enjoyed a hearty breakfast. They then refueled at a charming old gas station and chatted with a friendly attendant who gave them tips on local attractions. As they drove on, they decided to visit a historic landmark nearby, adding a touch of exploration to their journey. By late afternoon, they arrived at Ethan's uncle's house. Uncle Sam greeted them warmly and invited them in. The evening was spent catching up, sharing stories, and enjoying a delicious homemade dinner. Uncle Sam told them about the town's rich history and mentioned an old inn that had been abandoned for years due to its haunted reputation. Intrigued but skeptical, Ethan and Lily decided to find a place to stay for the night. As they drove around town, they came across a quaint inn that looked inviting despite its age. They hadn't made any reservations, but the receptionist assured them there were rooms available. Tired from the day's journey, they quickly checked in and went up to their room. The room was cozy, but had an eerie atmosphere. The old-fashioned decor and antique furniture gave it a timeless feel. As they unpacked, Lily noticed an old, dusty lamp on the nightstand that seemed to flicker occasionally. After settling in, Ethan and Lily decided to explore the inn. The hallways were dimly lit, and the air was thick with a musty odor. They found a staircase leading to the basement and, out of curiosity, decided to venture down. The basement was dark and cold, filled with old furniture and forgotten items. Suddenly, they heard faint whispers and footsteps echoing through the basement. Lily grabbed Ethan's arm, and they quickly made their way back upstairs, dismissing the noises as their imagination. As they returned to their room, they saw a shadowy figure at the end of the hallway, which vanished as they approached. That night, they tried to sleep, but strange occurrences kept them awake. The lamp on the nightstand flickered on and off, and they heard soft tapping on the window. When Ethan went to investigate, he saw nothing outside but darkness. The tapping continued, growing louder and more persistent. Lily then felt a cold breeze and saw her breath mist in the air, even though the windows were closed. She heard a low, guttural growl coming from the closet. When they opened the closet door, it was empty, but the air inside was freezing cold. The next morning, Ethan and Lily decided to talk to the receptionist about their experiences. The receptionist, an elderly woman, revealed that the inn had a dark history. It was once a popular destination, but a series of mysterious deaths and disappearances had forced it to close down. The spirits of those who had died were said to haunt the inn, unable to move on. Determined to uncover the truth, Ethan and Lily visited the local library and found old newspaper articles about the inn. The articles detailed the tragic events and strange occurrences that had plagued the inn for decades. They returned to the inn for one last night, hoping to gather more evidence. They set up their cameras and recorders, determined to document the paranormal activity. As night fell, the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. The temperature dropped, and the air felt charged with electricity. Ethan and Lily heard disembodied voices and saw shadowy figures moving through the room. Objects moved on their own, and the whispers grew louder, almost deafening. The shadows seemed to surround them, their presence overwhelming. At the stroke of midnight, the lamp on the nightstand turned on, casting an unnatural, flickering light. The room filled with an icy cold, and they felt a malevolent presence closing in on them. The shadows took shape, revealing distorted, ghostly figures with hollow eyes and twisted forms. Lily screamed as one of the figures reached out, its icy hand brushing against her arm. Ethan grabbed her, and they ran out of the room, the shadows following closely behind. They fled down the hallway, the whispers and growls echoing around them. They burst out of the inn and jumped into their car, driving away as fast as they could. The oppressive feeling lifted as they put distance between themselves and the inn. Exhausted and terrified, they decided to head straight back home, cutting their trip short. As they drove, they realized that the haunting would stay with them forever. The memories of that night at the inn would haunt their dreams, a constant reminder of the darkness they had encountered. Back home, Ethan and Lily tried to return to their normal lives, but the experience had changed them. They could never forget the shadows, the whispers, and the icy touch of the spirits that had haunted them. The inn remained a dark, haunted memory, a place where the shadows of the past still lingered, waiting for their next unsuspecting victim. And somewhere in that old inn, the lamp still flickers, casting its eerie light over the room, a silent witness to the restless spirits that inhabit the shadows. The lamp never sleeps. Daniel and his girlfriend, Emily, had been looking forward to their trip for weeks. They were visiting Daniel's distant relatives in a town neither of them had ever been to. It was a perfect opportunity for an adventure, and they had planned to take their time, enjoy the scenic route, and make a few stops along the way. What they didn't plan for was the haunting experience that awaited them at a hotel they decided to stay at for the night. Daniel and Emily packed their bags and hit the road early in the morning. They had a long drive ahead of them, but the weather was perfect and the open road was calling. As they drove, they discussed their plans. They planned to stop at a quaint little diner Daniel had read about, refuel at a gas station, and visit a historic site Emily was excited about. The journey was filled with laughter, music, and the joy of exploration. They reached the town in the late afternoon and went straight to Daniel's relative's house. His Aunt Clara greeted them warmly, and they spent a delightful evening sharing stories, enjoying home-cooked food, and getting to know each other. Clara told them about the history of the town and shared some local ghost stories, which Emily found both fascinating and a bit unsettling. As the night grew late, Daniel and Emily decided it was time to find a place to stay. Clara suggested a few options, but they chose to find a hotel on their own, wanting to add an element of spontaneity to their trip. They drove around the town and found an old, charming hotel that looked inviting. They hadn't made any reservations, but the receptionist assured them there were rooms available. Tired from the day's journey, they quickly checked in and went up to their room. The room was cozy, with antique furniture and a warm, welcoming ambience. However, one thing caught their attention, a vintage lamp on the nightstand that seemed to glow with an unusual intensity. After settling in, Daniel and Emily tried to relax. They talked about their plans for the next day, including visiting some local attractions and spending more time with Aunt Clara, but as they prepared for bed, they noticed something strange. The lamp on the nightstand wouldn't turn off. No matter how many times they flipped the switch, the light remained on. Thinking it was just a malfunction, they decided to ignore it and get some sleep. But as they lay in bed, the light seemed to grow brighter, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Emily suggested unplugging the lamp, but when Daniel tried, he found that the plug was stuck fast. Throughout the night, strange things began to happen. The temperature in the room dropped drastically, and they heard faint whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. Emily thought she saw fleeting shadows move across the room, and Daniel felt an unsettling presence watching them. They both struggled to sleep, but every time they closed their eyes, the lamp's light seemed to pierce through their eyelids, accompanied by soft, eerie whispers saying, "Lamp off, I am on." In desperation, they called the front desk, but the receptionist assured them there was nothing wrong with the lamp. Frustrated and scared, they decided to leave the room and spend the night in the lobby, but as they tried to open the door, it wouldn't budge. As dawn approached, the strange occurrences intensified. The whispers grew louder, the shadows became more pronounced, and the cold became almost unbearable. Then, suddenly, everything stopped. The lamp flickered and turned off on its own, plunging the room into darkness just as the first light of day broke through the window. Exhausted and terrified, Daniel and Emily grabbed their belongings and fled the hotel as soon as the door finally opened. They drove straight to Aunt Clara's house and recounted their horrifying experience. Clara listened intently and then told them about the hotel's dark history. Many years ago, it had been the site of numerous mysterious disappearances and deaths. The lamp, she explained, was said to be cursed, trapping the souls of those who had died there. The phrase, "lamp off, I am on," was believed to be the spirit's way of asserting their presence. Daniel and Emily decided to cut their trip short and head back home. They thanked Aunt Clara for her hospitality and promised to visit again under better circumstances. As they drove away from the town, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The memory of that night stayed with them, a constant reminder of the horrors that lurk in the shadows, waiting for the unsuspecting. And somewhere in that old hotel room, the cursed lamp waits, ready to claim its next victim.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of darkness. If you enjoyed this tale, please like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more chilling stories of the unknown.